So this session is only 50 minutes and we just used up a few minutes, of course. We're gonna get right into this. We're gonna zip through the intros. And so ladies, remember, it's an all-female panel and it's not a marketing panel. Can you believe it? Thank you. So what we're gonna do is really quick intros. So Dianne, I'm counting on you for this. What we're gonna do, just name the franchise company you're with and just kind of why you're on this panel, what stage your company's at. Let's do that.
Okay, good. Well, Angela knows me, and I'm from Oklahoma, and I'm not a go fast girl, but I'll go quick. Dianne Davis.
That's why I looked at you.
I'm with Happy and Healthy. We're out of Boca Raton, but I live in Oklahoma, and I'm 27 years into the business and franchise industry. This is my Act 2, and you want to know where we're at? Right now, we have 20 franchises.
Perfect. Yep, and that's awesome. Okay, Amy, let's go.
I'm Amy Lawhorne with Ultra Pool Care Squad. I too have been in franchising before I even knew what franchising or French fries were. But anyway, I was originally from Dairy Queen, is where I cut my teeth. I learned how to do things the right way and the wrong way, and helped build Mosquito Squad. But now I'm in a truly emerging brand. We have 10 locations. Home office is in Knoxville, Tennessee. Go Vols. And that's that.
Awesome. So the two over here have both been in franchising a long time, but they're both dealing with an emerging brand right now. So how much wisdom can they have, right? Make sure you talk to these ladies. And then Angela.
Hi, Angela Olea out of Scottsdale, and I actually just celebrated 20 years that I launched Assisted Living Locator Senior Placement Franchise. 150 locations, 36 states, sold to private equity last year and remained on as the president of that organization. So from startup to passing the 100, I bring all of that with me.
Awesome. No pressure here, right? Clarissa.
All right. My name is Clarissa Bradstock. I'm the CEO of a brand called Any Lab Test Now. We started franchising in 2007, and we have 226 locations.
Awesome. I think you are going to go be awesome because you just did, I think, the most succinct. That was amazing. Okay. So in my background, I'm Angela Cote of AC Inc., and we provide education and training for people in the field that are directly supporting franchisees, your FBCs, your field coaches, and we also do fractional field coaching, all with the interest of maximizing the impact of your field support. So for context here in the room, we want to know quickly a little bit about you. So who in here is anybody with just no franchisees yet and you're just here to kind of learn a little bit? Okay, that's super impressive that you came to this panel because that means you really care about getting it right. And the sooner you implement these things when you start, the better. So 1 to about 5 franchisees. We just need to kind of know for context. Okay, and then let's go 6 to 30. Okay, good. We kind of figured there'd be like you guys, the people that have felt some of the pain points around this topic. And then 30 to 100. Awesome, guys. Anybody over 100 in here? Ooh, that hand went up like, yeah, baby. What about over 1,000? Okay, I'm kidding. Well, maybe. No? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so the reason that we proposed this topic is because it's such a common pain point that we hear from franchisors. So what we're going to do here is, well, we'll start with what stops franchisees from acting more like business owners. So I'll just quickly ask the panel to give a couple of quick, just why don't they want to, the topic being, getting out of the day-to-day operations of their business to become better business owners and grow their business. So why don't they? Why did they get stuck? So maybe Dianne, I'll start with you.
Am mic working? Oh gosh, it is. Okay. And by the way, I'm super impressed that we're at 1 o'clock on a Friday, and look how full this room is. So like a round of applause for everybody for being here. Because there's a whole lot of cutters at this point, and you guys aren't those people. So good job. Well, I think it's very easy for people to get caught up as franchisees because they get caught up in the day-to-day, and they're working so much that in the business and not on the business. And one of the little notes when Angela asked these questions of us, and it really made me be thoughtful, is that sometimes it falls on us because we're working so hard to make them franchisees that we forget to make them business owners. And so that's something that I think that we have to be mindful of because it's so easy to get caught up in those logistics, how-tos, ops manual, functionality. without stepping back and talking about what it looks like to work on your business.
Right, so we focus on really helping them just operate the business. So maybe it's kind of our fault. So Amy, do you want to add something there?
Yeah, to reiterate what she's saying, it's really important for you to manage expectations. And I've heard this theme throughout the week of it starts way before you sign the dotted line. So when you're looking to bring on your legacy owners and the people that are going to build the foundation of your brand, you have to manage expectations and find out, their why of what they're doing. And we as franchisors, it's really important for us to lay that foundation to help them build not just buying a job, but building a legacy or an empire, if you will.
Did either of you want to add anything? No, okay, they're afraid. And we're not really allowed. And then I don't know if this is kind of implied here, but it's a fear, right? It's a fear, and might be coming from they don't financially know how they can hire that next person or whatever it is. So the reason I wanted to talk about this and make sure we covered this is because of one of my new favorite expressions I learned from someone. If you can name it, you can tame it. So if you can't name it, you don't know what you're fixing. So we need to understand the why the franchisees are not getting out of the day-to-day and trying to grow their business. So if you don't know the why, go ask them. Start there. There's an action step for you. Okay, so what I thought would be valuable, we have a short bit of time here, is I want to ask each of these ladies, well, I asked them in advance, if what's the one thing around this topic? Getting franchisees to go from being stuck in their business day to day to wanting to grow, maybe getting a second, third, or fifth location. What's the one thing you wish you would have known that you would have done differently? So that's sort of gonna be the meat of this panel. They're each gonna share that with you. Now you guys have action plans and handouts in front of you. So there's the one that has their names on it. So in a minute when we go through that, you can grab one of those and you can listen. If you're listening really good, you'll hear them share that main takeaway, and they're gonna make sure that they give you a couple of actionable steps. Because theory is great, but let's hear what can we actually do and go back and do when we get back to our business after this conference, okay? Just wanted to familiarize you guys with that. And then the other handout is for at the very end, because you go to these conferences, you get all this awesome information, you take a bunch of notes and you go back to your business and you just forget kind of about those notes. We're trying to give you guys something that you can take back and really make it actionable, okay? Sound good? Okay, sound good, Marty? Yeah. Woo! Okay, awesome. So, now you're probably wondering a little bit about these flags. So, what we're gonna do is, so we're gonna play green, yellow, red throughout. So, green means I really agree. I'm gonna ask you a question in a minute as an example. Green means I agree. Yellow's gonna mean I'm not exactly sure, and red is gonna be definitely not, okay? And then I'm going to get you to explain something else as well. Okay, we're going to start there. So, assuming you have franchisees, a lot of you, most of you in this room do, where do you sit with these cards? I have some franchisees who are stuck in the operations of their business because they are fearful to get out of working in their business. Red, green, you agree? Kind of? Or I have none of that? Let's see. Okay, so we got a bit of everything there. Okay, here's the next statement. So which one do you resonate with? It would be amazing if my franchisees took more initiative to grow their business, i.e. having the confidence to hire more team members and a manager maybe, go out and do some community marketing and take the time to understand their profit and loss statements. I wish that they did that. If you are feeling that way, it would be amazing. Do you think that's a good call? Let's see the green. You don't think that's a good idea? Red? Okay. And the last one is, my ideal situation would be that franchisees have a growth mindset and have their business running so smoothly that they would want to open a second and a third and maybe a 10th location. Do you agree? Guys, you guys are not being awesome. I need to see more cards, guys.
Maybe they don't have the cards. I don't know. So.
Oh, okay. There's only so many. Okay, we didn't know that we got this big room. This is okay. You guys are off the hook then. Okay, so Dianne, do you want to explain what you were going to explain about this?
Sure, I'm going to explain. And I have some extra cards here. And I'm going to, how about if I just set them over here by Carolyn? Carolyn, do you mind? Carolyn's my friend. Will you grab these? And if anybody needs them, would you mind letting them have them? And the reason I'm saying that is I'm with a brand called Happy and Healthy, and we do grab and go, good for you snack foods. And on one of those green cards, which green means go, go, go for me, so of course it has to be on the green card, there's an H and H. And if you see that, I'm going to send you a big box of frozen fruit bars. So
Now
go,
they
go,
want
go
bars.
for some fruit bars. And I think that's the only question you had for me.
Yeah,
Now
that's
you're
it.
back.
That's
All
enough for
right.
me. So as we go through these 4 areas, 4 different key insights for you, if you are hearing something that you want them to go a little deeper or more granular on, hold up your green. And if they're rambling, you're going to hold up the red, okay? So we're going to do our best to try to stay succinct here, just so we get you guys all this value. Now, just know that we're all extremely excited to share our insights and knowledge, and more than happy to chat after or find us. We're all on LinkedIn. You can see our names here. Find us there. Happy to go deeper into all this. We're just trying to kind of give you a sense of some things you can do. So, okay, I'm going to start. I think I'll start with Angela. I'm going to start with you. So let's get you to share what is the thing that you wish someone had told you, or that you would have listened to, because somebody might have told you this, but what is what that you would do differently, or you have started to do because of knowing what you know about franchisee growth mindset?
Yeah, what made I had a successful home store that I did first, and there I had a certain size, I had a certain team of people working, and somehow and sometime during the sales process, that seemed the staffing was not set up from the beginning. You could do a one-man show. And so now, fast forwarding, we're trying to get everybody with that mindset of, no, build the team. So we've got a whole mix of people in the franchise system from 1 to many, but we've got some inconsistencies in that. And so they can do a different path, but it's up to us to really show them and work with them on those different paths to duplicate the success that my home store did, which is the optimal. It's one extreme. So.
Awesome. Okay, and then, so what are the actionable steps then that people can do to take that information and take it back to their business?
So in the beginning, it's important when you work with your franchisee to really start with the end in mind. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And is this going to be legacy? Do you plan on selling your business? Do you have a child that is going to take over? Do you want to grow a team and expand and buy multiple franchise? Or are you risk adverse and you want to have a very tight team of 2 people, maybe 3? So really recognizing from the very beginning, work with the end in mind, set that they can pivot and change, but they have to have a destination so that you can work with them to help them achieve that and give them the guidelines for whatever it is that they're doing.
Okay, I don't see any green or red flags, so I think we're doing all right here. And I think just to emphasize what you're saying is in the vetting process, really understanding that what they're looking for, and ask what kind of, let's do this. What's a question you would ask in the vetting process to help you uncover whether this person is going to be somebody who can have the confidence to build a team versus somebody who's going to get stuck in the day-to-day and just maybe panic or whatever happens? What do you ask?
Yeah, because we're in mine specifically, we're in the senior care industry, and so everybody who joins has a big heart. They want to give back, but there's a difference between somebody who wants to do part-time volunteer work and give back and just have that feel good versus somebody who's going to hustle and get out there and get the job done. So for us, it's really defining what is their goal, and if that's what they share with us, then we're probably not going to be the best fit for them, and we'll steer them in a different direction. So really making sure that they've got that we're a good fit for one another. And again, whether it's running a 3-man show or whether it's building and having 3 franchise system or 3 franchises, 3 territories with ours. So finding out where they're at, but making sure that they align with us and they're on one of the plans that we want them to be on. And in the beginning, that's the time to do it because otherwise it's going to be great disappointment for both.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that. Again, hearing it all week long, Mary was talking about, we're all in the business here to be profitable and financially successful, but the relationship is super important. So in the vetting, to reiterate what she's saying, you really have to, they're sizing you up, you're sizing them up, and you have to make sure it's a good fit, especially for an emerging brand. And it's so much easier said than done, especially if you've got founders and owners that are like, I need some dots on the map, we need some cash flow. But you're going to invest in it either up front or down the road. So it's really important to make sure that you put those right people in the seats, and that relationship is super important, and making sure it's a good fit.
Yeah, I would just also want to add that what we've really seen with the brands that we work with is it's around 30 franchisees, 25, 30 is when people start to go, uh-oh, I don't think I have my support right, because the franchisees are not acting like business owners, they're not growing. And because we see that at that stage, or when we see that the problem is, we're like, that's what we're trying to tell you guys right now. If you've got 5 or 10 franchisees and you're like, oh, we're focused on sales, well, you've got to equally be focused on taking care of your franchisees, because I would rather personally invest early and get it right. It's a lot easier. I'm sure there's people in this room that would agree that they've gone through that and wish they didn't have to go back and fix it. Go ahead, Clarissa.
One thing that when we were an emerging brand, I wish that we had developed our core values right out of the gate. It actually took us a couple of years to do that. And one of our core values is accountability. And in our discovery day, I emphasize all the core values, but I make sure that they understand that we are accountable for building the systems and processes and so forth. You, the prospective franchisee, when you become a franchisee, you are accountable for growing your business at the local level. And I think going back and putting my mindset in the chair where you guys are, I made a lot of poor choices where I did not make them accountable for their actions. So I think it's real important to let them continue to voice, it's your business, how can I help you? But you're accountable for growing it. And again, really working on your core values.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to Amy next. So the thing that you want to make sure people know, and then we'll figure out some action steps from it.
Yeah, so I think it's really important for emerging brands when you're building your team internally and with your franchise owners is accountability is amazing, but you have to become habitual too in your communication. In the beginning, it's all rainbows and unicorns, everybody's getting along, you're so excited, and then you get busy doing other things, and they kind of know what they're doing, but you have to make a process out of it to where you're continuing to communicate and you're getting your owners to be habitual in their bench strength at the store level or at, for home service brands. Always be over hiring so you have some bench strength, and you as an owner operator can take yourself out of that day-to-day business, and you don't have, hey, one person is on your bench and they didn't show up, and then I've got to get in the van and I've got to run it for the week. So always be over hiring and looking for, key players, whether it be part-time, family members, however it is, but that's a key action item, is always be over hiring at whatever level you are, whether it's, you've got 1 territory or 4 territories.
Okay, so that's something that you're communicating to the franchisee early on to have the confidence to overhire. So specific action steps that can come out of that they can write down on their handouts?
Yeah, so if you have a new franchise owner, again, I'm in the home service brands right now, but having those key players already teed up, even if it's, the seasonality of a lot of these businesses is a real pain, and it's, hey, it's winter time, between grass and pool care and all that stuff, but that's the time when you start putting the feelers out. You start having career fairs or working on a referral program with your existing techs that you have on board. So a key action item is always be over hiring, and even though there's a seasonality of some of these businesses, even during downtimes.
Okay, there we go. Hopefully you guys got some good stuff there. So Dianne, I'm going to go to you next. Let's ask you, so what's the thing that you wish you would have known or done differently?
Okay, well, these are all such good questions, and I'm listening to them and thinking they're coming up with such brilliant ideas. So everybody doing pretty good?
Yeah,
Everybody good?
I've been
Yeah.
looking for, like, do you need us to go deeper, or do you want us to...
Okay, good.
Okay, we'll do our best.
I think that the thing I wish I had known is that it really does start out at the very beginning, and that's been a prevailing theme this week. And in fact, several of my sessions that are supposed to be very, very deep into the business end up being about the Fran Dev and the onboarding process, because so much of this begins back there, and is to really, really understand from the very get-go their why, and why are they doing this, and what do they want to get out of it. Because if you don't plan, if they're not planning, they're entering into your system with the end in mind that someday they're going to leave it, then they're going to get out there, they're going to fund a salary, build a business, and then get to the end of it and not have any idea what to do. And it could end up in a closed location, it could end up with underserved customers, it could end up with a lot of issues. So keep that in mind. Also, and this is something I would say, is to really model the behavior yourself. That you're modeling that same kind of behavior, that you're behaving, that you and your franchisee support center team are behaving like people who are working as business owners, not as just people who are just working in the business all the time. Because it's so easy for us, to get caught up in doing the day-to-day that we're not doing anything that is really working on the business overall. So model that. And that's one thing at our franchisee support center, we have 5 key initiatives. And I know we've talked a lot about culture this week, but our 5 key initiatives is that we focus on our franchisee profitability, top-line sales satisfaction, that we are growing our system by getting more franchisees, and we're running our system profitably and with integrity. And we state those at every single meeting, so we stay very, very focused on what we're there to do, which is to serve those franchisees and grow the system overall. Also, we're emphasize to the franchisee when they're coming in, we're here to teach you how to operate the business, but the goal is to make you a successful business owner. And I know we've heard a lot about metrics and KPIs this week, and I know back when I was new to this and we first started tracking those at JBF, and we didn't have a clue about our unit level economics. And I'd sit here and listen to people talk about unit level economics, and I'd be like, we're stupid. Because I didn't think we could ever get our arms around it, but we did, is that find 3 to 5 things you can measure, and start by asking your franchisees, how do you know when you're successful? What's happening in your business? And I've started asking that at my company, at my new company, Happy and Healthy, and I've heard everything from when there's money in the bank account to when my inventory looks good, when my wife's happy, and when the truck's full of gas. I'm hearing it all. And so find those metrics and then begin to measure them. And it doesn't matter how elementary you begin, start measuring them, and you can change them as you go. But find something you can begin to measure, and then as you start to do that, you guys will begin to build that data that you're going to need in order to be able to measure to determine if anyone's being successful. And that's how you build some business owners.
I don't know if you said this in that, the overarching thing that you said when we were talking in advance that I thought was a light bulb going off for me, is that they weren't going to become business owners organically.
That's right.
Like, it was like you didn't realize, you thought, like, you bring them on and you work so hard on coaching them on the operations of the business. And as was mentioned earlier, you don't maybe think to coach them on actually being a business owner. And it doesn't just happen. Like, I think do you want to speak to that?
Yes, and I think that we think that, and also our coaches tend to go really granular and really operations focused really fast. Right, Angela? Yeah. They do, and they're not stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, because they want to teach them functionally and operationally how to be a franchisee. And we go granular so fast that we forget that too. And I do think I think that I would early on would see people not acting like business owners, and I'd be like, why aren't they doing that? Well, maybe it's because I never told them or showed them how, or even modeled that behavior myself. And so it does not happen organically. So if you think it's going to, it will absolutely not. In fact, it'll get worse, because they'll be really, really good in the day-to-day, grinding it out. But the thought of growing a business and becoming a true business owner will get very far away for them, because they'll be so caught up in the day-to-day, they can't see it anymore.
Yeah, I love what you said something really important here. If you didn't hear this, just catch this. So very commonly we see that people in the field, often because they're not properly trained and guided and supported, they revert to operations coaching. They revert to helping the franchisee do the in the business work. So you gotta, when you look at this issue, you gotta look at where is this coming from? Is it us as the franchisor? Did we miss something? And we've heard already lots of great things like about the setup. It sounds a little bit like, some of it may not sound like rocket science, but it is. It isn't rocket science, but it is important that you set that expectation early. This is a business. You know, we got a lot of good takeaways so far about building a team and the way you're gonna see this. But yeah, know that your field team, especially, and I was a field coach myself for a number of years, you revert to what's easier, what you know. And that's what I think also, even the franchisees revert to that, right? They revert to the operations of the business because they can't envision. There's actually an expression I love: a confused mind always says no. If you're not clear on what to do, you say no to that thing, and then you go do the thing that you're comfortable doing, right? I'm seeing a lot of nodding. That's awesome. If you like it, put the green thing up. Woo! Our thumb. If you're Pete, you missed the green flag thing, Pete.
Do you want me to give my key takeaways?
Yes,
You ready
please.
for me to do
Let's
that?
go there.
Okay.
Action steps.
Okay, action steps, because I also don't want everybody, I know sometimes I'll listen to what some of the very seasoned franchisors say, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's got to be blowing past people, because it's blowing past me. Yeah, does everybody agree with that one? Sometimes
You
it's
guys
like,
like
are you
that
kidding
idea?
people?
Let's get granular.
I want to do this to those people. Stop it. All right, but here's something to set up, because I know a lot of, when you're first starting out, you don't have a lot of money, and you're trying to figure out how to impact change, right? How to make these differences. So some suggestions for you. Set up a franchisee to franchisee mentoring program. It's just as easy as getting a strong franchisee and doing something for them, like, I'll buy you a steak dinner. You can go to conference free. You can bring your spouse free or whatever. But would you mentor some people for me? Very low cost, Zoom calls, have them spend time with them.
I'm just going to get you to go a little granular on something here.
Sure.
Are franchisees automatically good at coaching, or do you have to also guide them on how to be a mentor a little bit?
Oh my gosh. If you're going to use franchisees as coaches, that's another
Well, I mean mentor,
topic.
as a
But
mentor.
as
Like,
mentor, you definitely would want to guide them. Here's how we want them to be mentored. Here's what we want the end game to
you
be.
just don't leave it to them to do
No,
what they
because,
want.
yeah, and I think we all know what that would look like, wouldn't that? We can end up with some problems there. So good points. Also, as I said earlier, find your 3 to 5 things to begin to measure, track, discuss, educate, celebrate, and then build it from there. Also, monthly lunch and learns with leadership, with successful franchisees, with business owners, with guest franchisors or vendor partners as a way to kind of educate people. And I mean, if I look around this room right now and it said, if somebody came up to me today and said, would you speak to my franchisees? Who would raise their hand? Shane Evans, you'd raise your hand, wouldn't you? Carolyn, you'd raise your hand. You'd speak to some franchisees here. People in this room will speak to your franchisees and pour into them and talk to them about business ownership. So don't hesitate to tap in. If you guys want me to speak to your franchisee, I'll do it. And so I would love to pour into other people and help them learn how to grow their businesses. So that's how franchising works. We pour into each other. And then also you can do a weekly or bi-weekly book club. I'm going to give you 2 to start when you start your franchise systems. The first one is a book that is like my Bible. I read it once a year. The Profitable Partnerships by Greg Nathan. Who's read Profitable Partnerships by Greg Nathan? Oh, good. It's a good book. I just read it again and took my whole team through it. And then The Wealthy Franchisee by Scott Greenberg. Who's read that book? Hey, that's good. Yeah. Both of those should be read by you, your team, and your franchisees. I'm going to read The Wealthy Franchisees with my franchisees coming up in October. And then here's my plug for my friend Angela, because her company's made a lot of difference in my life, and I'm not getting a dime to say this, but she really puts herself out there to provide resources to our industry. And she does a roundtable every Tuesday at 12:30 Pacific time. And it's available to anyone who's an emerging franchisor. And it's 1 hour. We get together. She sends a list of topics and gathers 25 to 30 of us. And I've been sitting in on other roundtables of her, but I'm putting myself back in the emerging world, because I've been with the brand and I grew a brand a long way, but I've never emerged a brand before. So I'm there with her now, and I'm learning. And she does that for us at just no charge to us as franchisors. So I really recommend Angela. And Angela, thank you for doing that.
That's me, yeah. So I'll have cards up here if you want to come and grab a card and learn more about that. Now I'm thrown off. I wasn't expecting that.
I'm sorry, you weren't expecting that commercial, but it's made a lot of difference. I started doing those about 3 years ago, and when I just went to our regular franchisors, and it made my world bigger. Because it's one thing how we get all get here. I feel like I'm getting emotional. Oh my gosh. But we get here and we see each other 3 or 4 times a year and we're super tight and close. But we see each other on a regular basis and we're really tight and we can share things that we wouldn't share otherwise. And it's really helped me grow. So
Oh, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, we love. By the way, we love having Dianne there because she always has awesome energy and brings great insights. So it's a win-win for us. Okay, so yeah, some actionable steps there: the books, the mentoring, the role modeling. Those are all great for a way to help your franchisees think more like business owners. Let's go over to Clarissa, and I just actually have a question. Who here, hand up if you've got a question that you're wanting to ask. Or maybe we're just doing so awesome. Oh, you've got a question. We might not answer it right away, just...
I'm so sorry. That's when I started talking really fast. So sorry. On your key performance indicators, those 5 things that you find out that people is that you monitor, track, discuss, educate, celebrate, and build from there. Thank
This
you.
actually segues perfectly into Clarissa, because I have a feeling I know what you're going to talk about. So we'll go to Clarissa for what's the thing that you, or if you want to address that first, but then what's the thing that you want everybody to know?
Well, I was going to go into a couple of things. One, when you're looking at franchisees as they're getting that mindset on how to operate a business, we have several franchisees that we keep hounding them, oh, you need to do it this way, you need to do it this way. And that, for example, go out and do sales. Our franchisees that do B2B sales really do a lot better. And the franchise business coaches get really frustrated because this personality is not going to ever do that. And I said, why do we keep hounding this franchisee to go do something that's totally outside of his comfort zone? So why don't we change the narrative? What things can we do that he can do to then start to move from just working inside the 4 walls of the business to go out? Can he do more networking things that are more comfortable? So the key thing that I just want to mention is you're looking at your franchisees. You didn't know that when you signed up to be a franchisor, you'd also have to be a psychotherapist, right? So you've got to analyze what's the behavior and meet them where they are, because they sometimes don't have the ability and skills to meet us where we are. So just something to keep in mind. The other thing, I'm going to give you one little takeaway thing that we have done, and I wish I had done it. It goes back to I wish I had done it at the very beginning, is track your franchisees based on 4 different things. This is outside of revenues. Put them in quadrants. The top quadrant is high performers, high engagement. Next quadrant is high revenues, high engagement, okay? Next quadrant, and that also, think of profitability, but we keep it simple with those 2 variables. Next quadrant is high revenues, low engagement. Then another quadrant is high engagement, low revenues. And then the last quadrant is low engagement, low revenues. And then as you're putting these folks in these quadrants, where are you going to focus your time? We make the decision to start that we're really going to focus on the folks that are high engagement, lower revenues, right? Because we feel like they will listen and we need to keep moving them forward. But when you do that and when you're working with your business coaches, instead of this whole mantra of we've got to get revenues up, do what you can do to get people from one quadrant moving to the next to get everybody into high engagement, high revenues. And by the way, who is what franchise of those quadrants, which quadrant is the most damaging to the brand? You may think it's the low revenues, low engagement. It's high revenues, low engagement. Those are the ones that can do the most damage to the brand, even though they're bringing in the most royalties for you, because they may not be the best validators because they think, finish the sentence, they're smarter than you, right? So it's real important to get those to also work on all of the quadrants, but decide which one needs the most movement. The other thing going into, again, working, and I know this really lines up with what we just talked about during lunch, is really coach the franchisees to know their numbers. We take it for granted. I had one franchisee, I am not kidding, and supposedly she was a CPA. She calls me up and she goes, Clarissa, I've got to close. I'm like, wait, you're in the top 5%. She goes, yeah, I went through my whole credit line. Like, how did you not know that you didn't check your bank balance? How did this happen? Don't assume that they know the basics on the financials, and work with them and mentor them and track those numbers. And also going back to really having a fine tune on making sure if your gross margin percent isn't what the standard is, then it's not just that your cost of goods are higher. Why is that? Our cost of goods are pretty easy to track. We're not a food service brand. You think you might have some theft? Are you looking at loss prevention? All of those type of things that you've really got to help them focus on their numbers. I know, again, it's common sense for us. Don't assume it's common sense for them, and help guide. And the one last thing I'm going to say, and I think all of you have probably heard this, it will never work in my market. We don't charge enough. Our competitors are beating us. We charge too much. And where I'm going with this is when people make global statements, right? Have you ever had a franchisee make a global statement that this
My
new
market's
product,
different.
this product would never work in my market, right? This is where you go back to the numbers and you say, let's crunch some numbers to show how I've got another franchisees with the exact same demographics as you, and look, this is what they're doing and this is how it works. So you've got to, and the proof is in the pudding, and we're not being defensive, right? We're just, let's go back to the quantitative data that shows us, well, let's look at this from a different lens. And all of a sudden it'll be, you're right, I was making a judgment call because, you know what, maybe I just don't really like that product. Okay, well, let's talk about that because that's a different discussion. So just a few things.
Awesome. Okay, just real clear takeaways or action steps from that they can take?
I would do, like I said, I would do the quadrants. To me, that was the most helpful for me and my team to visualize and take, whether you have 30 locations, 5 locations, you start that practice and you start to be able to figure out how to move the knob where it's not such a big pie. And it makes it where I think it's more achievable, and it also helps with the satisfaction of your business coaches.
Okay, Marty, 1 sec before this guy here. I don't know if I know you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no problem. My name's Mark.
Mark,
I'm
all
here
right,
with
Mark had his
a
hand up.
brand called the Bunny Hive. We're very new, so we have our first training coming up. And I was just wondering, in terms of the quadrant, having low engagement being a big problem, and then the other main theme of getting people to have a business owner mindset. As we have our trainings coming up or our annual conferences, what do you suggest we do to try to make sure that we encourage engagement and that business owner mindset when we have those touch points?
So I didn't get the question. I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind repeating that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to get you to repeat it. Just
Okay.
Summarize it if you can.
Sure. We have our first training coming up.
Yeah.
So the idea of having that higher engagement with
Right.
low engagement being
Right.
the worst quadrant, what do you suggest we do when we're doing the trainings or the annual conference and we have all our owners together? Do you have any suggestions on things we can do to try to really boost engagement or ownership mindset while we have those higher touch points with everybody?
Okay, a couple of things. One way to, in my opinion, to increase the engagement is listen to them, right? And to take that when you're doing the training, you actually, you want to be accountable that you are managing the brand, but have them engage. And as long as they hear that their voice is being heard, you're more likely to get ongoing engagement. If they feel like it's never being heard, then you're not. It's going to be really tough. And then the other thing is find out why they're not engaged. Because it could be things that you may take it personally, and it may be because they've got personal situations that are going on that they just don't have time. Listen to that, respect that, honor that, and then come back and say, okay, I know you've got a really sick child right now. Let's regroup in 6 months and see what we can do to get you back on our town hall meetings every week. So, it really is all about the listening, I think.
So it's kind of if you can name it, you can tame it. If you know what the problem is, then you can address the problem. So Marty, we'll go to you, and then we just have a couple minutes left. So
Quick question around the same topic, the quadrants. Do the franchisees know what quadrant they're in?
No.
You don't
No.
tell them that?
No.
Okay. Okay. And
I think we would have some bruised egos there, so no.
well, do they move at some point? What's the criteria to move from the one of the quadrants? You know, low revenue, low engagement. They could move to one of the other ones.
That's a really good question because revenue is not a binary thing in the franchisee's mind, right? We may think revenue is X, but part of that can also be what the franchisee's expectations are for revenue. In other words, when we do the franchise business review survey, are they going to check that it's a good investment and that they're getting the money that they think they should out of the business? That's where we want to get it. So it's really getting them to the revenue point that they have it on their goals. And then with engagement, we just track, do they come to conferences on a regular basis? Are they come to our town hall meetings? Are they, and by the way, engagement can also be negative. And I'll tell you, when a franchisee that we don't hear from very much sends an email or calls me and rants, I'm like, okay, this isn't the way I wanted to start my day, but I got them engaged. I'm not saying we're trying to antagonize them, but then this is a time to get the discussion going. So what do we do wrong? How can we make it better? And I have an ask of you. Can you show up on Wednesday's town hall meetings? And then you start that collaboration. So it's not always pretty, but the point is to get them engaged.
Yeah, okay, that's going to be the last question. I'm just going to have to set the stage for that, but we're happy to take questions after up here, just because we got to stay with the schedule. But yeah, go ahead. You had your hand up.
Oh, okay, great. I was wondering, what part of your program is focused on replication? I mean, in other words, it seems like all this is about trying to get a franchise owner to be really actually specifically focused on actually replicating themselves into multiple sites and the like. What do you do in your programs that actually specifically pushes them to do that?
Does anybody else want to take that? I don't want to.
You know, one of the things that we do, and this starts in new franchise training, we do a Business 101 class. And in that Business 101 class, we cover all the different aspects, all the hats that you wear, and being able to assign out each hat. And under each hat, then we break that down further. So marketing, sales, operations, admin. And so duplicating, there's certain functions, certain levels of competencies that are in each area. In each area, focusing on replication, on how to follow the processes and get that down. That's really what they're looking for to you as a franchisor, is they want a ready-made toolkit, and it's their responsibility to take it and make it. And be successful with it. So is that what you're talking about in duplication of that?
Yeah, it seems like there's an easy tendency to just do it themselves. How do you get them out of that to actually doing it through other people?
I don't know if this answers, but defining the more processes and the more things you have, if your brand guidelines, if you've got clear defined rules, you have to get in front of that. When you'll get some franchisees, and hopefully you get them early on, so you're able to, they're pretty crafty, and they'll create or do something, and then you have to create a rule that you get in front of it. But the more you can stay in front of maintaining what helped make your brand, the better. You don't want to always be catching up and trying to, once that toothpaste is out of the tube, you've got problems. So
I'll just add that, and this is a really big question, so again, I'm happy to chat after, but the just also coaching them to have a growth mindset. Like that it doesn't just happen. Like, you have to work with the franchisees to help them want to grow, and they often don't want to grow. So whether it's the duplicating or whatever we're talking about here, there's a lot of it is to do with that. And that's why soft skills are so important when it comes to working with franchisees. And that's why the role in the field is what we're at AC, we're trying to help people really put a lot of attention to that role. The person that's in the field is the one that's trying to get your franchisees to be business owners, and traditionally, it hasn't been really respected as like a key role. And so understand that those people, you got to get the right people in that role, because all the things you're hearing here, for the most part, once you get past maybe, 15 franchisees or 10, you're going to need someone else doing it, maybe even earlier. And they need to be able to do all this, right? I wanted to just emphasize, as far as the engagement goes, a really cool KPI. I don't think you said it right now, but a cool KPI that we were talking about, Clarissa, is the that the field coaches that you track for the field coach is the engagement of the franchisees to come to meetings, to go to conference. If the franchisee's not showing up, then that's on the field coach, and obviously you have to help your field coaches with that. But I think that's a really neat metric to track. Franchisee engagement is like lay out where they should be showing up, and is it 80%, is it 10%, what's going on, and then find out why aren't they showing up. Okay, as we wrap up here, again, we got a little mixed up with the time. We thought we were starting later. So I think we're just about at the end here, but just before we go, just for fun, this has nothing to do with anything, but just to give you guys a little smile. We have these Go Be Awesome stickers. Go Be Awesome and Don't Be Shitty stickers up here. You can take a little handful if you want. You can give them to your franchisees. When I give these out, it kills me how people instantly like, oh, I'm definitely a Don't Be Shitty. Like, they just know, right? So, like, take it and then ask people what they resonate with, have fun with it, whatever you want. But there's lots of these here. And if you stick around for a minute, we'll come out and hand them out. I just volunteered you guys, voluntold you. Okay, so before we go, Heather, you know me, Carolyn, we need a couple of quick key takeaways. So Heather, I'd love to hear what's your key takeaway from this panel today. If you can give us, and so now this is the part where you can write it on that other handout. What's the one thing you heard today that you are committed to go take back to your business and implement?
So I would say the quadrants.
The quadrants, that was a hot one.
Yeah, it's very easy to come up with a way to be able to measure, and like you said, what the franchisee wants, not just what I might think. So that was really helpful.
Quadrants, okay. Who else has a key takeaway? Awesome, oh, look at that. Go ahead.
We spend so much time on developing the ideal persona for the roles or the expectations of, going to cold call and like they need to be outgoing. But I like the point Clarissa made of, maybe have options if that person isn't that type. But even though you have your ideal type and they need to do this role, have options for the coaches to present to them, like, hey, maybe you need to hire someone, or maybe we need to take that task on as franchise board.
Awesome, okay, let's get another key takeaway.
I was going to say, listening to the four of you talk, it kind of occurs to me that maybe a key KPI to ask your franchisees is how many hours are you working each week? That number should be coming down over time. And if it's not coming down, then something's wrong and you're never going to be ready to give it up.
And by the way, that is on the Franchise Business Review survey. That's one of the questions they ask. And you can segment it by the number of years they've been open. So that's what you should see absolutely, is that trend that they're not working in the business as much, or working, that they're going out and getting that life work balance that they bought the franchise for.
Sarah, what's your key takeaway?
I think trying out the franchisee to franchisee mentoring program. It's one thing being the franchisor, consistently trying to guide the franchisees to, be better, try different things. But when they hear it from others who are in that same boat as them, it has a little bit, I guess, more of an in-depth meaning to them.
Awesome. Okay, Carolyn, and that'll be the last one with your key takeaway. Besides the fact that we went together yesterday up the stairs, 27 floors when the power went out. Oh my gosh.
So the quadrants was one, but I also like the if a franchisee makes a global statement, then sitting with them and sharing that.
Awesome. Okay, so did you guys all get some good action steps? Oh my gosh, what's going on? Okay, there you go. Awesome, guys. Okay, so come on up. If you want to get some Go Be Awesome and Don't Be Shitty stickers. And thank you to this awesome panel. You guys are so awesome for sharing your wisdom. And I do have 2 pairs of Go Be Awesome socks up here. Whoever comes at me first can have them.
And if you have that H&H on your green card, come see me and I'll make sure you get your frozen fruit bars.